Wait for the notification to tell me that we're live. There we go. Hello everybody, we are live for another race here in ALR Season 5. This week we're here in Italy for round 12 of the season, so only 3 races left. In fact, let me quickly just check. Pretty sure it's round 12, but I may have slightly got that one wrong. Yeah, it's round 12. Round 12 of 14. Cool. So round 12 here. Yeah, not really much to say, to be honest. It's Italy, you know, classic Monza. We have well, it's obviously one of the most famous tracks in the world for a reason. The fastest track on the calendar in terms of overall speed, not so much in terms of lap distance. It's about, well, it's just under a 1 minute 20 here, so it's not a short lap, but we have shorter examples like Canada, Monaco, Brazil even. So yeah, there are shorter laps on the calendar, but we do have a very short lap time here, which will be very interesting in terms of the race, because you're going to get, well, especially at Monza, you're going to get these DRS trains that form. It's going to be very hard to get into the DRS trains if you're not in that DRS. It's going to be very difficult to break them and pull away from one of these DRS trains, because just how powerful the DRS is round here. And of course, it's one of those tracks you've got to be very careful with your ERS usage, because there's not that many opportunities to recover it over the lap. So you have to make sure that you're using your ERS in the most effective way possible. Using it too much and you'll find yourself with none to defend or attack with. And yeah, I mean, especially at a track like this, you don't want to start derating halfway down a straight, because that's a lot of lap time that you're losing there in a straight line. So yeah, just gotta. It's a lot more of a tactical track than you'd imagine, obviously being mostly straights and chicanes, but you do have to watch a lot of your stuff. You know, again, it's difficult to save fuel here, just in the same way as ERS, although I'm not sure fuel matters quite as much in this game. Nowhere near as much. I mean, you still want to underfuel most tracks, or get the fuel amount as low as you possibly can at most tracks in order to get that car lighter. A lighter car is a faster car, so yeah, fuel not so much, but it is something that a few of these drivers are going to have to watch if they attack too much during the race or find themselves having to make their way through the field. Of course, 16 drivers in here right now, just coming up to the 8 o'clock mark. I have a feeling we're going to be a little bit late. We have 17 drivers now. Let's just see who we're missing, because there are a couple of reserves racing in this race. We did have a few people not able to make it. Let me just quickly go have a look at the stream. There it is, no comments yet, so make sure you guys leave your comments down below if you have anything to say. I'll turn the volume down so I don't hear myself. And yeah, definitely, I think it's one of the more enjoyable tracks on the game to drive. You know, it's one of those classic tracks, so it's got the grass right off the run. It does have runoff in some places, you know, the exit of Ascari, Parabolica has obviously runoffs of the chicanes and stuff, but overall it's whilst it's not the most challenging track to drive, it has some tricky sections, you know, the 2 Lesmos. You can lose a lot of time through there with a slight mistake, you know, a bit of oversteer, bit of understeer. Very easy to get warnings through there, same with the Ascari, you can get warnings quite easily. So there's definitely a lot of things to think about and a lot of stuff going on in the way you drive the track. And I think overall that's going to make for an interesting race. Along with obviously you have that DRS trains as I mentioned before. So it's all about managing all those different aspects of your driving throughout the race to make sure that you don't get penalties, because if you get penalties, the guys behind you are going to benefit loads because they're going to be in your DRS, you know. And really, it's one of those tracks where, if not getting a penalty would get you such a huge advantage because of the nature of the circuit, especially for those guys on controller. Very easy to get a warning here through Ascari on controller, because the first, well, obviously you're a lot less accurate on controller, so if you mess up the first section, you know, you brake a little bit too late or you go a little bit too deep into the first section of Ascari, it's going to almost guarantee that you cut the second bit, or you turn in a little bit too early, you brake a little bit early for the second bit of Ascari, and that's a very easy part of the track to cut. Obviously I'm not saying that it's easy for those on wheel, but you know, it's slightly harder for those pad players, and overall definitely difficult to go a whole race here with so little warnings. Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting GP here. Obviously I've been looking in chat and there's been some people saying that there's quite a large skill gap here today at the moment. Some guys are a second and a half down on the faster guys in the lobby. Obviously I think that's based off time trial times, so of course race times are always different because time trial drives quite differently from multiplayer. Even if you use the equal multiplayer cars in a time trial, it still feels differently, of course, have stuff like tyre temps and all that. So yeah, I wouldn't take time trial pace as at face value, especially since a lot of guys run different setups and time trial and stuff. So yeah, just definitely gonna have to see. And of course, as I was mentioning before, the DRS trains, it's so easy to get caught up in DRS trains, so difficult to break the DRS, that someone that's a lot slower than you can easily keep up with you at this track as long as they drive consistently and don't make too many mistakes. So definitely a lot of things that can just happen here that, you know, you wouldn't expect. A lot of variables that can get thrown up here, and that is 20 drivers, so we should be able to go any second now. Just watching the chat. Yeah, there we go. Everyone's starting to ready up. We have 20 drivers in here, all selected a car. About 5 minutes late this week, so it's about the same as the last couple of weeks, to be honest. Okay, and there we go. We're gonna start now. There is no interview lounge once again this week, so if there's a safety car or something, I'll just have to waffle about something. I'm sure there'll be something interesting to talk about. There always is at Italy, especially if there's any kind of chaos on lap 1. That usually tends to be quite big at this track, especially turn 1 and 2 being the way they are. Such a long straight into such a heavy braking zone. Hopefully we can load up quickly here. Just waiting on a couple, Tambi and Jim. Oh, tier 3, there's some rain if you're interested at all. Ooh, definitely looking dark here in tier 1 as well. Doesn't look like it's going to rain though. So not anything interesting going on there. Just gonna have a look, see who's the first one out on track. We'll follow them for their outlap and first lap as we always do. Looks like it's going to be a Renault. Don't know which one though. It's going to be Jim. Yeah, it's going to be Jim, first one out on track. That's what we're going to do. Just put the track map on. Put the lap data on. Put telemetry on. And actually what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do that. Just get a better view of things. Ride on board for the outlap and first lap of the session with Jim here. So just going to have a bit of a look at, you know, the kind of lines that he takes. What gears and speed he's taking the corners at, and just you know, have a general look, talk about it a bit. See what you're saying in chat here. Sepsky says dry in quali and race. Okay, so I guess rain would be interesting, especially in quali. I tend to find that rain isn't so good in the race because it really limits overtaking opportunities. It's people invalidating their outlaps though. And Ghost Toy actually managed to get out on track. I didn't see Ghost Toy go out on track, but he did actually manage to get out ahead of Jim. So we'll watch his lap instead. We did, however, miss turns 1 and 2. Coming into turn 3 now. They're breaking around about the 100 metre marker board, cutting both bits of the corner as much as possible. You want to ride the sausage to just try and get the shortest line through there. Again, keeping it tight into the first Lesmo, getting early power and exit. Same concept with the second Lesmo. Could extend a little bit more than that, but obviously first laps here, keeping it tidy is important. Coming up to Ascari now. Again, braking just after the 100, turning in late. You kind of want to turn out of the corner to start with, so it opens up your rotation as you go into the corner, and then you want to use as much of the track on both sides without hitting those sausage curbs or the sticky policeman. Just after the 50 into parabolic here, on the power as early as you can, running out a bit wide. You can of course run onto the green AstroTurf there. You want to cut back over to the right for the shortest reach of the line. The first lap today will be a 118.2 there from Ghost Toy. So a good lap to start the session off here. It's going to be a 118.7 from Jim as he crosses the line. Next across the line will be Mr. Stickerlass as he does a 119.8. And he's actually going to be followed by a lot of guys. A lot of people in this train here, maybe just trying to get a little bit of slipstream from each other. We'll just wait to see all of them cross the line and see how things shake up for the end of the first run. So we're staying on board with Scoolsy here as he just comes through the final corner. It'll just give us a good idea of what's going on. This will be a 119.3 there from Scoolsy. 11 drivers completed their laps. We just have a few more to go. Rally looking like he's going to be the last one to cross the line in this group at least. There's a bit of an issue for one of the Hasses down at the second chicane there, it looks like. Hopefully that gets cleared up soon, and Rally with a 119.1 goes 6th place. So after 14 drivers have all completed their lap, and I think that's everyone on that first group, we have Ghost Toy in provisional pole with an 18.2, followed by Dresser with an 18.3 in second, Rudy with an 18.4, then Talpiz with an 18.6, followed by Jim 18.7, Rally 19.1, so a bit of a gap there, about 4 tenths between 5th and 6th. Wilt with a 19.1, very close between the two Red Bulls today. Ishtar with a 19.2. I think he's a little bit higher up than he was expecting to be at this point. There are still some fast drivers yet to set laps though, so we will keep an eye on that. We actually have Polby and Sepsky currently on laps. Polby's invalidated, Ladamala coming towards the end of his lap, just coming on the exit of the Scari now. Basket with a 19.3 and P9, and rounding out the top 10 with Scorsese with a 19.3. So very close between those guys, with the third 19.3 from Yarlow there. Palm with a 19.6, Stiklas with a 19.8, and Swen with a 20.2, rounding out the grid so far. Ladamala with a 19.3 goes P11 only at the moment, continuing a slightly disappointing run of qualifying session so far by really the driver that was the fastest last season. Going to come into, that's an invalidation from Sepsky, just slightly cutting the first bit of Ascari, as I said was very easy to do earlier on, so that was unlucky. No one else on a flying lap, it looks like. Do have Rossi and Heisenberg on outlap, so Heisenberg about to start his lap, so this is right on board with him for a little bit. There's 11.5 minutes left in the session. He slips over to the left side there to start his lap, just slightly minimising the run down to turn 1. Braking just before the 100 board, but he's outbraked himself a little bit of lock up there. He's not able to cut turn 1 as much as he can. Just coming through the Curva Grande now, down into turn 3. Again braking just at the 100. Not quite cutting that curb as much as he can, and he's ended up in the gravel after a slight snap of oversteer. Unlucky there, hopefully he can rejoin safely. Yeah, looks like he will. We'll switch over to Rossi, see what Rossi's up to at the moment. Looking like a good sector 1 from the Ferrari driver there. Kind of tentative there through the second chicane, but a good line overall. Taking 4th instead of 5th through the first Lesmo. We saw some of the faster drivers take 5th earlier on in the session. That's the invalidation, just slightly wide at the exit of the second Lesmo. That's going to be unfortunate there for Ferrari driver with that invalidation. Let's see who else is doing something. We have Sepsky, Tambi and Swen on outlaps. We also have Ghost on a flyer. Oh, he's actually invalidated his second flyer here, so that's unfortunate. Rudy on a flyer. Jim also on a flyer, slightly ahead of him on track. A small snap of oversteer on the exit of turn 2 there, so that's going to compromise his run. All the way down through here, yeah, look at that, about half a tenth down, so that's just how much that small mistake on power has cost him so far. And just watching his lap here at the moment. It's looking tidy-ish. He's actually a tenth and a bit up through the second sector, so that at the moment is looking like it's going to keep him in 5th, but if he finds a little bit more through this final sector, he could find himself moving up to 4th ahead of Taup is. Let's just have a look as we come through. The Parabolica now keeping it tight, hitting that apex nicely, running just to touch the green stuff. Maybe could run a little bit more on it, just if he allows him to get on the power a little bit earlier, and 2.8 tenths faster. Sees him go. P4 is Rudy, provisional pole there, an 18.2. So just 100th faster than Ghost Toy there, and it's moved him up from provisional pole. Dresser taking, well, starting a lap now, so he's looking to take that provisional pole away from Rudy now. And nice line into turn 1, just avoiding that curb on turn 2. The curb can upset the car a little bit. You do want to take a little bit of it if you can get away with it, but it's safer to just avoid it completely, as Dresser did there. Just looking into turn 3, look at that, cutting as much as it can. Maybe didn't quite turn in early enough for turn 4, but it's still a smooth line, so it won't affect him too badly. Taking 5th for the first Lesmo, running quite wide an exit. Very nice line so far. Maybe not cutting enough into the second Lesmo, but making up for it with a bit of extend on exit. So overall looking like a very nice lap so far. As you can see, as he comes to the second sector split, he's just under a tenth up very tight with track limits through Ascari there. A small touch of that stick policeman on the third part of Ascari. Just going to lose him a bit of time down the straight with that small snap of oversteer. Coming into the final corner now, the Parabolica, very early on the power, coming out towards the AstroTurf, before switching back over to the right, minimising the distance to the line as much as he can. It's an improvement of half a tenth, but it's not enough to move him up any positions right now. The Ferrari Italo Pierce just coming to the end of the middle sector now. Let's see what he's doing. Currently looking like a decent lap. Yeah, and he's just slightly up on his time, not a huge amount, and he's messed up Ascari, so he won't improve. I think he's going to back out of this lap. He's low on fuel, so he'll most likely pit. Scusi also on a lap, but it's not looking like a particularly fast one. So we'll look to Rally instead, who is 2 tenths up, which always invalidates. What am I doing? I'm cursing people at the moment. Just see them, looks like they're doing good, and they immediately mess up in some way. As Yarlo not looking like he's on a fast lap there either. Swen is actually retired. I didn't get to see that, and Tambu, the 20.0, currently the last, well, I say that, except for Swen, the last of the drivers that have completed a lap. As that was Heisenberg going up into P13 there with the 19.3 in the Mercedes, so quite tight here actually in the midfield if you look at it. I think we're about P9 to P14 covered by about 4 tenths there, so very tight. It's a bit more spread out once you get to the back end of the field, but the front end of the field as well looking quite tight. Looking at P1 to, well, P1 to 3 being covered by about a tenth, or just under a tenth. You have P4 to P8 covered by about 4 tenths. So tightest bit is definitely there in the midfield, but you have quite a few smaller groups which are also quite tight here all over the field really, so yeah. Just looking who else is on the lap. Looks like Ishtar, oh no, he's on a invalid lap, so see what Ghost Toy's up to. Nothing too much by the looks of that, gonna be honest. Rudy's starting a lap now. Let's see how he's able to go. Will probably be his final run. A lock up into turn 1 there. It's going to cost him a bit of time. A snap of oversteer on exit. He's struggling to get the power out of turn 2, so that's going to cost him a lot through this run down to turn 3 now. Going to see as he comes to the first sector split there, 2 tenths down. It's a lot of time to make up at this track, especially with the high speed nature, so it's going to take a lot if he wants to reclaim that provisional pole from Ghost Toy. Let's have a look. It's pretty tidy middle sector actually, but I don't think it's going to be enough to make up all the time he lost. We're going to have a look as we come through the split. Yeah, he's only made up about 100th there, so he's going to have to find a lot of time in this final sector, and I'm not sure that he can really find it. So maybe he can pit at the end of this lap and go for another run. I think that's his only option. He'll just about have enough time to do that if he does pit now. He decides not to, so it's going to be close whether he can get another lap in or not. He does slightly improve, so he found a lot. He found over 2 tenths there in that final sector, so he must have had quite a poor final sector before, but that moves him. Ooh, I'm not sure how legal that is, but it's going to gain him time. Probably going to be able to make it to do another run now because of that, whereas he probably wouldn't if he didn't do it. But he does move himself up into provisional pole with an 18.186, the time to beat at the moment. Jim pitting now. We have outlaps from Dresser, Polgui and Ishtar. Rather Mallow coming towards the end of an outlap here. Let's have a look what he can do. Runs out of ERS before the line, that's going to cost him a bit. He was using ERS in his outlap, but isn't the smartest choice you've got to say. Hopefully no one here gets his way into turn 1. Yeah, it looks like he'll be fine into turn 1. Didn't quite cut turn 1 as much as he would have liked, I don't think, there, so gonna have a compromised run a bit, but yeah, gonna have to see what his first sector split here is. He is a 10th up, so he took it better than he did last time, clearly, but still not completely great as he gets a wheel on the gravel there. That's, yeah, I think he's backed out here. Yeah, I think he's slowing down. He's going to go for another run here, which gives us a chance to look at Dresser as he comes out of turn 2. So we're going to see his run, see what his sector split is. He is about to come up to that first sector line. He's over a 10th up. He's a 10th and a half up. That's a huge amount to be up at this point in the qualifying session. So if he can get this right, as Sepsky retires without a time, he will start last. So if his trespassing runs a little bit too wide, he's invalidated his time. If he saves fuel in ERS now, he will have time for another lap. But I was going to say just before he did that if he carried that momentum through, he had a very good shot at pole here, but just became that much harder for him now. As Polker is riding on board with him, currently in 5th place. To see what his middle sector 2/10 up, that's very, very good from him. Could be enough to move him up into 4th here. And he's got a bit of slipstream from his teammate as he's coming down the back straight towards Parabolica now. I think to see how much time this slipstream gains him, as that's Tamby facing the wrong way on the exit of Parabolica, so a spin there for him, and it's gained him a little bit of time. It didn't really gain him as much as I'm sure he hoped, and that means that he is going to have to settle for 4th at best. Skolzy retires from 9th place. Tamby disqualified from the session, so he will start last, in fact behind Sepsky, his McLaren teammate. Dressbasson is on another lap, and he's even further up out of the first sector this time than he was last time. So he's finding huge gains here in the first sector, but is he going to have the fuel to go the whole lap? It's going to be close for sure, as Rossi retires with no time. He will start 18th place, as Radomala does his final lap, and it's just enough for P10. So he's got to hope that those behind don't improve by too much. As yeah, I think that's Dressbasson run out of fuel there, so he's not going to be able to get the lap in. Hopefully he gets out of the way of Ghostoy, who cuts the corner right behind him, so Ghostoy will not improve from P2 after that mistake. Rudy now looking to see if he can improve his time. As Talp is up into provisional pole. He went half a second up, and he's put in a 1:18.115 to go provisional pole. So it really is all on Rudy here as he comes through the second sector split. It's nearly 2/10 up, in fact. So that would be enough for maybe our first 1:17 of the session. But going right down to the wire here is, I mean, 30 seconds ago he was looking pretty comfortable for that pole position, but now Talpiz has snatched it away from him here in the dying stages, coming to the final corner here at Parabolica. He's going to minimise that run to the line. He's going to cross the line. What's it going to be? It's an 18.099. So it's just about a hundredth and a half. 16 thousandths quicker than Talpiz's time there. And he does grab back that provisional pole. And that's it for all the laps here. So that was the final lap of the session, and Rally and Polbury in the pit, so we're just waiting on those two to get wheeled into their garages for the session to end. And how close was that at the end there? Yeah, just fully didn't expect Talpiz to get that lap in right at the death there, but Rudy able to snatch back that pole position by thousandths right at the end. So Rudy is on pole, 16 thousandths separating him and the Ferrari driver, who's actually standing in, I think, as a reserve today. So very, very close stuff there. Ghost Toy third place alongside Dress Basson there on the second row. Both of them very unlucky with invalidations at the end of the session there, both looking strong to challenge for that pole position. Pulpy a bit further back, about 3.5 tenths off of pole in 5th, with Jim, his countryman, alongside him in 6th, Harmer in 7th, with Ishtar 8th, Wiltz 9th, and Ladamala just about getting 10th place, but with a free set of tyres at the end of this, well, for the start of the race. We have Sculsey in 11th with Basket, Rally, Yarlow, Heisenberg, Stikolas and Swen, with Rossi, Sepsky not setting times and Tamby being disqualified after facing the wrong way at Parabolica at the end of the session there. Okay, so just getting ready for drivers to select strategies, fuel loads, maybe tweak their setups if they want to. I guess this is one of the tracks where you could maybe tweak your off-throttle diff a little bit between quali and the race, just to preserve a bit of tyre life as well, because in the event of an early safety car here you will want to go for the hards to the end, but it's very, very close with the tyre life on those hards, so yeah, maybe putting some pressures up in the front tyres at least. The front tyres been the one that take the most wear here, especially the front left. Well, no, sorry, the rear left. Sorry, rear tyres take lots of traction zones. The rear tyres take the beating here. There's maybe a bit of lag there on the formation start, but yeah. There's your pole sitter, Rudy. Not sure if pole means anything in this league to points wise, but yeah. And Ishtar, who predicted that he'd start at the back with Rossi in this race, is actually P8 on the grid, so a lot higher up than he was expecting. So just looking down the grid, I'm just going to quickly check the tyres of the guys outside the top 10. So the only driver outside the top 10 not to start on the mediums is Tamby. And I think, yeah, all those starting on the mediums completely the right choice, because if you can stay in that DRS train of some of those guys in the softs, you know, maybe get a good start, take advantage of any chaos and make up a few positions on the opening laps, you can really benefit that second stint with the softer tyres. The softer, fresher tyres compared to those around you. So yeah, starting on the medium tyres here definitely does give you an advantage. Of course, the strategy here is soft medium, unlike in previous weeks. But in the event of any early safety cars, you will want to choose the hard tyres, just because they're not that much slower, but their durability, they just about last the whole race with a safety car at the beginning. It is very close, but they can just do it. And there you go, soft medium for these guys, all of them at the front here, soft medium. And then for the guys outside the top 10, it would be medium soft for predicted strategies. The whole grid now formed up. Please give me a better camera than this, there we go. Still can't see the lights, there we go. As we have 5 red lights and we are underway for the Italian Grand Prix. And it's been a good start there from Rudy by the looks of it, but Tal Piers just getting a slightly better one, goes to over an even better one, and that they can go 3 wide into turn 1 by the looks of it. Tal Piers backing out, doesn't quite have the speed to keep it 3 wide there. Is actually Dress Bassen with a great exit out of turn 2 there. He's going to go around the outside of Tower Piz and maybe even grab the slipstream there of Ghost Toy. A move maybe into turn 3, but it's not going to work because Ghost Toy going down the inside to turn 3. There's contact between him and Rudy, and Rudy's cut the chicane, and now Ghost Toy is under pressure from Dresser. Dresser pounces and moves his way up into second place there with a nice move into the first Lesmo. Tower Piz again with a small move, or look at least into the second Lesmo, but he knows that's not really a place to overtake here. And Rudy has gained quite a bit of time, I would say, with that corner cut, so that might find its way to the stewards. Jim getting through into P6 there, and the run up to Ascari, and now Ishtar coming through. Oh, it's slightly close there between Ishtar and Walt, as there's a small bit of oversteer on the exit of the Vascari, but it is kept clean for now, and Ishtar down into 9th place. Jim, Armour and Wilt all moving up into 6th, 7th and 8th respectively, as we have Ghost Toy. What's happened to him? Is he ghosting? But he's moved oh, it's the thing's glitched. Great. He's actually in 3rd. The Talp is behind him in 4th. Rudy is still leading the race, not 13th place. I don't know why it's doing this. But hopefully by the end of this lap it should have sorted itself out. It does usually sort itself out by the end of lap 3, but please, Codemasters, do something about this glitch. It's been in the game since launch. They won't. We'll have to wait till F1 2021 to get any kind of working what's it called, timing board there. Unfortunately, just got to deal with it for the, what is it now? It's March, so 4 months left of this game's life cycle, I'd imagine. They usually release in July, so especially with COVID, you've got to imagine they'll probably release July instead of June like they did 2018. But we have now very close here between Tower Piz and Polpool. Tower Piz just not quite able to keep up with Ghost Toy ahead. I mean, I say he's not able to keep up. The gap is only 4 tenths, and that's bigger than the gap there right in front of us. But Polpool able to get within that 2 tenths on the back straight. Not DRS, well DRS just gets enabled, but they're not able to use it just yet. So not looking likely that Polpool will get the move into turn 1 just yet. He stays back. Going to look for the DRS probably at the start of the next lap, because that's what's going to make this pass the easiest. Doesn't want to use too much ERS just yet. And we have yellows in sector 1. Looks like it was for Rossi, but he's got his car back on track, as well as Heisenberg. Heisenberg was looking slow there as well. So both drivers recovering back into the track. Didn't look like either of them had any kind of damage. Tal Piz dropping off the back of Ghost Toy a bit there. Gap opens up to about 8 tenths. Nearly 9 tenths, over 9 tenths now as they make the run up towards Ascari. Looking like he used a little bit of ERS there because of the DRS assistance he just about has been 8 tenths behind. But of course the cars ahead also have that. Maybe he's just looking to make sure there's no kind of attack from Polpool into Ascari this early onto the race. I don't think it's really worth making a move into there just yet. Anyway, so Polpool looking very close into Parabolica here as they come round the exit. The gap going to be just about 3 tenths. It's definitely within striking range for Polpool right now. Just Bassen with the fastest lap of the race. To see, is Polpool able to make any kind of attempt into turn 1? In fact, someone who is going to make an attempt is Dress Bassen, but he's been shown to the outside there and he's not able to get any kind of preferable line into turn 1 or 2, so you have to hang back for a little bit longer, coming under pressure from Ghost Toy as a result. Not looking like anything's going to happen into turn 3 though, at least you'd hope not at this point of the race. With that kind of gap, Ladamala making his way up into P9 ahead of Ishtar. Ishtar just going backwards in this race so far and cutting turn 4 there, giving him the first penalty of the race. And as I said earlier, those penalties are going to hurt a lot come the end of this race, because the field's just going to be so close here. Those who can keep the car on the track and away from penalties are going to benefit a huge amount come the end of this race, as Jim gets the second 3-second time penalty of this race. Polby now, look how close he is behind Talpiz, maybe looking for a move into Parabolica. Wouldn't think so though. Does have a little look to the inside, but he's going to stay behind for now. He's going to try and get a better exit out of Parabolica and see if he can get this move done, as Talpiz just outside of that slipstream range. Slipstream comes into effect about 6/10 on this game, so he doesn't quite get it, being 8.5 tenths back. He's losing as they come all the way down the straight. In fact, just Basson going for another move around the outside of turn 1. He just about gets it done before Heisenberg is facing the wrong way there at the exit of Parabolica, and Ishtar gets another penalty. Rossi also with a penalty there. So those yellows should clear soon. Just Basson up into the lead of this race now. Let's see what's going to go on behind. It is Ladamala making a move through turn 3 on Wilt to the inside, and Ishtar now under pressure from Scusi, but he's able to keep ahead for now. Those medium tyres from this point on are really only going to get better and better compared to those softs. The softs are going to start to fall off, and you usually want to pit from the soft tyre around about lap 11ish. So about halfway through their life on those soft tyres right now. So you can expect a little bit of performance to be lost, but the major loss is yet to come. Talpiz looking a lot closer to Ghost Toy than he was before. Maybe a mistake there from Polby. Polby dropping back a bit. Talpiz gaining because of the fighting ahead, I'd imagine though. So we're going to see what's going to happen up ahead. Was Ghost Toy actually just under 3/10 coming out of Parabolic. Let's see if that's enough to make some kind of move for second place here. Actually, he's had a very poor exit, as Talpiz is now able to come through, and Talpiz moves his way up onto the podium. Ghost Toy may be looking for an instant return move here into turn 1. He does get the better line, but he's going to switch to the outside for turn 2. Rudy trying the same thing. Rudy unsuccessfully. Ghost Toy manages to get it done this time round. So Ghost Toy does able to get straight back up into P3 after that initial DRS overtake from Talpiz. Just showing how good the slipstream here is. Maybe Talpiz, you know, took off his ERS a bit. There's Polby with 3 seconds, so that's especially from P5 where he is right now, going to cost him a lot, you've got to imagine, but a long way to go in this race, so you don't want to count your chickens too early. That was an awful set, why did I say that? Yeah, so just going to have a look at the gaps. It is really the closest fight on the grid at the front here. There is also a group including Ishtar, Basket and Rally here, which is also very, very close, but of course this front group is going to get to the overtaking spot first, so we're right on board with them. And then once we see what these guys have gotten up to, we'll have a look at what's going on behind. There's actually Rally passes Basket in a very unusual position into Parabolica there. So that's going to allow Basket to do is to get the DRS and have a run on Rally. Of course, Rally will also have DRS from Ishtar, so maybe using that DRS he's going to try and keep ahead. Probably just a little bit too far back to get anything done into turn 1. I think that's really going to be the big story of this race, is they're so close but they can't do anything because the driver ahead also has that advantage as Tambi makes a move up into P13 from Basket. So Basket just losing out there after losing the position to Rally. It's down to 14th place now. But Ishtar, of course, is very close to Ishtar, who does have that 3-second time penalty already. As Ishtar gains 5 seconds for exceeding track limits, that's a full-on corner cut. Not sure how he's managed that through turn 4 there, but that is a very large corner cut, followed by Ladamala with 3 seconds of his own for track limits. So a lot of drivers here just not managing to keep it between the white lines early on in this race. Maybe a bit of dirty air affecting them right at the beginning here with these big trains. Polby again, look how close he is to Talpiz, but he's going to stay behind into Parabolica once again, going to try and get that run down to turn 1. We're going to see quickly what his ERS is like in comparison to the Ferrari drivers, and they have very equal ERS, but Polby using it now, using a lot more than Talpiz is to defend, but still unable to get it done. As Dress Basson now on the outside of Rudy into turn 1, he's just not able to get anything completed there, and has to settle for second place once again, where he was earlier in this race. He's under pressure again from Ghost Toy. So Ghost Toy looking like he wants to make up some positions now. Look how close they are through that second chicane there, turn 4 and 5. Doesn't get much closer than that. Oh, there's a spin in the background, it's Jim. He looks like he's had contact with someone there. I'm not sure that's the safest way to rejoin the track in all honesty, but he's lost a lot of time doing it, down to P16 there. And that is horrible stuff for the Renault driver, but you've got to wonder how that's come about. Maybe he did it on his own, it's definitely possible for those corners, but I'd imagine that he probably got helped around a bit there as Rossi also finds himself facing the wrong way at the same place, but he's actually broken his front wing on the barrier there. So very contrasting races here for the two Ferrari drivers as a virtual safety car as a result of Rossi's incident there. So strange that, well, to be honest, it's strange that this is a VSC at all, looking at the fact that the damage is completely off the track into escape road. But strange that as everyone pits, so that'll be for the hard tyres. Everyone's going to take advantage of this VSC and pit for hard tyres, which is, well, they might even go for mediums this late in the race. We'll have to see. Yeah, it's going to be mediums for a lot of these guys. So there you go, the virtual safety car changing the face of the race just like that. And yeah, as I was saying, I'm not really sure why there was a VSC for that, but I would have said that Jim's one was probably more warranting of a VSC as the way he came back on track, but I don't think either of them were really VSC worthy. But that just shows the sensitivity of this game sometimes. It gives a VSC for stuff like that. I can guarantee there'll be a car stuck on the racing line. There's a drive-through penalty there for what I think was Ghost Toy, as Rossi retires after getting 5 seconds for speeding to the pit lane, and 3 seconds for Scully, multiple warnings, but I think that was Ghost Toy with a drive-through penalty. So he sped on the exit of the pit lane there, going over the Delta for the VSC, and that's really ruined his race at this point. He did lose out quite a bit. It's actually just Bass lost out the most there in the pits, as he's actually behind both Ghost Toy and Talpiz now. And that has allowed Rudy to get away big time, as there's yellows through the first Lesmo. Looks like Harmer in a bit of trouble there. He is, as he's trying to rejoin is the Haas driver. There's a bit awkward there between him and Swen. Also Isha coming through there, so Harmer down to P18 after a bit of a mishap through the first Lesmo. And all kicking off here, lap 9, lap 10 in this race. Completely different to what we were seeing not too long ago. Wilt didn't actually pit him, that's VSC, and you've got to wonder if that was the right call. But this has helped out quite a bit, a lot of these medium runners, because the guys currently who have just switched onto the medium tyres are going to have a lot of tyre wear come to the end of this race. So they're going to be very slow, whereas these guys in the mediums, although right now they will be slower with those older tyres, at the end of the race they're going to be so much faster on those much fresher softs. So it'll be very interesting to see how those guys come into play towards the end of this race. Badamala into the pits, and he's back down to last place. So yeah, it's all just turned on its head a bit this race very recently, and Scully very close to Wilt there. So although this is probably the battle for like a net, I don't know, I want to say maybe a net. Oh, it's Talpiz. What happened to Talpiz? He's a long way down the order. Maybe a mistake there from Talpiz. I'm not really sure when that happened. It looks like he might have been into the pit lane again. Did he pit for the wrong tyre? He's had to pit again. What it has done is it's allowed Dresser to get back up behind Ghost Toy. Ghost Toy with that drive-through, so Dresser back into a net second place. Despite how much that would have hurt him, as Dresser now will move up into 8th place as Ghost Toy serves his drive-through and sets the fastest lap there, Dresser. 21.7, fastest lap of this race at the moment. So going to start hunting down Rudy for a potential race win as he gets a penalty there for exceeding track limits. Scully up into the lead of this race as Ghost Toy, look how far down he's going. He's going to come out ahead of Talpiz behind Harmer right now. So horrible race for both Talpiz and Ghost Toy, and I went from saying that it's a very contrasting race between the two Ferraris here to having one Ferrari in 17th and the other one out of the race. So horrible race for Ferrari in general at the moment, you've got to say. And yeah, just not really sure what happened there to Talpiz. I completely missed it, and very, very aggressive racing there between Harmer and Sven. Harmer getting the better of the Mercedes driver this time round, but it was very, very strange to see two drivers make so much contact on an overtake like that. And now we have side by side through the exit Parabolica, Tamby getting ahead of Rally as Wilt pits there. A small bit of contact there, but Tamby looks like he's going to keep that position as he moves himself up into a P2 of this race. One of the drivers from the soft tyre not to pit under that VSC, so he might be hoping for maybe a full safety car to come, although it's unlikely, I think. We'll see where Wilt comes out at the moment. It's Desepsky. Desepsky, after that poor qualifying, is up into P9 with his hard tyres. Not sure I'd have chosen the hards in his situation, but he obviously feels like it was the better choice, as we could see, as Wilt comes out about P11 ahead of Heisenberg and about a second and a half behind Jim. So on the fringes of the top 10 there, so he definitely has a chance once a few more people pit to get some decent points in this race. And he's going to be a little bit faster than those around him come the end of this race, but I don't think it's worth enough to not pit under that VSC. As Tamby with 3 seconds once again for just cutting the first bit of Ascari there. And you've got to imagine that this is going to cost him big time towards the end of this race. Of course, 15 laps still left in this race, not even halfway, so a lot can happen. We've already had this race turned on its head once. It can easily happen again with a full safety car or something like that. As Tamby pits, and Ishtar gets 3 seconds time penalty for multiple warnings. Bit of a penalty merchant, I think I noticed actually from Ishtar. He is usually one of the drivers with the most penalties coming into the race. Probably his biggest flaw, you've got to say. Just, I see you guys in chat. I'm just going to quickly load up chat again. It's taking a while to load everything, so if I don't answer straight away, I am sorry. Is Ishtar down to P14 there, Tamby down into P12. Why is the thumbnail for the Tier 2 race France? If anyone can answer that one for me, please let me know. I can't see what was actually commented there. I know there was a 4th comment, it came up on my thing, but nothing's actually come up in chat for me, so I don't know what's going on there. We can have another look. No, nothing's loading, so sorry to whoever that comment was from, but I can't actually see it. Yarlo just catching up to Basket and Rally here as they battle a bit. He's actually just moved himself into the DRS, but I don't know if he quite got there in time for the detection point. I don't think so. In fact, he did. He just got there in time for the detection, so yeah, good from him. Chat's hashtag ruined, said Rossi. And another thing that was ruined was your race, unfortunately, there. Well, Ferrari's race in general, unfortunately. So not great for you guys, as Tal Piz looking very close as they come out of Parabolic. And migrating host, so who Rossi has left the session. I wonder who the new host is. I guess we'll never know. But Tal Piz there, having a look into turn 1, nothing coming of it this time round. However, Ladder Matter does get past Mr. Stickerlass with a fairly easy DRS overtake, you've got to say. Looking back towards the fight here between Ghost Toy and Ishtar. Ghost Toy making his way up the field after that drive through purple sector 1 there. Oh yeah, I'm the host, let's go. Oh, there's a big moment there from Harmer, he's into the gravel. Just able to not spin there, but he's going to be very slow at small positions. So the second time he's made a mistake there at the first Lesmo. And I wonder what caused that. It looked like he moved maybe to have a look on Ghost Toy. Ghost Toy retires, and that's a virtual safety car again. How has he retired there? That's on just after the bridge. That looks like he's tried to go side by side and someone's moved across him in contact or something like that. But that's a very unnatural place to find a car, as a couple more drivers take this chance to pit onto the soft tyre. Those guys, Yarlo and Basket, followed by Pulpy there, all going for the soft tyre now. Pulpy That would be his second stop of the race. Jarno going for the hards. Very odd choice there. I have... you've got to imagine that there was some kind of... or 5 seconds for Heisenberg speeding the pit lane. But you've got to imagine there was some kind of incident on the straight there for him to end up in that very unnatural position. But that is definitely way more deserving of a virtual safety car, as Wilt gets 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Looks like this time around no one got a drive-through. Harmer with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings as well. Yeah, so no one got a drive-through that VSC restart. They all behaved this time round. So the second retirement of this race goes to, leaving us with 18 drivers. And touchwood, so far in this race, a lot less retirements and incidents than you usually find. So very nice to see that these guys are keeping it clean. And look how much Basket benefited from that VSC. He's got onto that soft tyre for the remaining 12 laps of this race, which is only slightly longer than your average soft tyre stint, and you've got to imagine the lower fuel loads that he could make it work. And he's already in P7 with the drivers ahead, all on older, harder compounds of tyres, so looking very nice at the moment for Basket. Let's see what he's going to do in the rest of this race. Just a shame that we actually have Mr. Stickerlass with an issue at the second chicane, and he becomes the third retirement in this race there. At the exit of the second chicane, his car's still moving, so you've got to imagine that was a manual retirement. Won't cause any VSCs, most likely in that case. As back to the front with Scully and Rally, of course, yet to pit, followed by Rudy and Dresser. Dresser been chasing down Rudy the last few laps. The gap down to 1.2 seconds now, but Dresser does have that 3-second time penalty to combine. And Rudy not looking like he's going to get a penalty anytime soon, or at least he hasn't so far in this race. Sepsky also very close to the back of Jim. Sepsky, however, on that harder tyre, so he might struggle to make anything work in this race at the moment because of that worse tyre. But as I said earlier, the hard tyre isn't horrible here, as you find with a lot of tracks, as this track does use softer compounds of tyres compared to most others. So he could be able to make this hard tyre work, you could think, but he has got to keep in mind that Basket is right behind him on that much softer tyre, 2 compounds softer, and he's going to be chasing him down very, very quickly as Rudy and Rally now pit for their first and only stop in this race. That moves Rudy back up into the lead of this race, as we now have an incident on the exit of Scar, and it's Harmer again. Horrible race for Harmer. It's just, after what was a pretty good start from him, it's just been this incident after incident after incident, and many mistakes, and he's found himself down in P15. It's kind of what we saw in Japan. He had a good start to his race, but very quickly after ended up in the gravel at the top of the hill, the S's in Japan. Of course, he found himself way further down the order than he really should be. As Dress Batten now within that 1 second on our leader Rudy at the moment. So just having a look here, as we have 3 cars very close, Wilt, Tambi and Jarno, and looking like no position swaps there right now, but it was very chaotic coming down into the second chicane there between those two. And let's keep an eye on these guys, as they're very, very close, and you can just see the gap there. Look at the gap. Jim, 3rd place, 13.5 seconds behind 2nd place Dress Batten, who is only half a second behind Rudy. Let's see, he's within slipstream range just about at the moment. He's going to have a little bit of ERS, not as much as Rudy does. He's had to use his ERS a bit to catch Rudy, but he will have that DRS advantage. So for the next couple of laps, he's going to be able to sit behind a bit maybe, but he's got to pounce soon if he wants to break that DRS and get away from Rudy a bit. He does need to clear 3 seconds on Rudy to win this race, of course. And Rudy, at the moment, the current championship leader, so he is looking to add another win to his collection to extend that lead, of course, as Basket moves his way up into 4th place now. So he's on the fringes of a podium, as Jim less than a second ahead, and Basket very, very easily could find his way onto the podium at the moment. As Jim, 14 seconds behind Dresser, is making it look unlikely that it would be too much more than that podium. Of course, Tosepsky on those hards, he will struggle to keep up with this train, you'd imagine, but if he can, that lack of a penalty will benefit him greatly. He's another great shout for the podium at this point in time, but with only, I want to say 9 and a bit laps left of this race, you've got to imagine that these guys are going to start getting all the more aggressive with one another as it gets all closer to the end of that race, as we have a swap between the Red Bulls there up on the run towards Ascari. Looks like Rally might have picked up a warning there though, so he's got to be careful of that for the rest of this race. Now Dresser, 4 tenths behind, much closer than he was last time. Is this close enough for a move? He's not using his overtake button, and he doesn't go for the move this time round. It looks like Rudy isn't using much overtake at all either, so very, very even between these guys. Actually, they're very even on ERS now, so maybe Rudy used a little bit to defend there. But Dresser doing a good job of saving it at the moment as Rally makes up another position up into P7 now on those soft tyres ahead of Tandy. Obviously the reigning champion, suffering a bit so far this season with a lack of form. Sepsky now getting close to Basket and Jim, not looking like he's able to do too much, but he has got to be careful. He's coming under pressure a bit from another soft tyre runner, Sculzy. Sculzy does have a penalty though, so it'll be difficult for him, much like Basket, to clear the 3 seconds he needs to get on that podium. But again, he's definitely a shout for that podium depending on how things go in this group for the rest of this race. We're going to move a bit more forwards again as we come just down the back straight towards the final corner here. Parabolica, look how close the leading two are now, just 3 tenths separating them, as Dressbassen now decides to use that ERS that he has. Rudy not so much, so Dressbassen can have a big advantage down the straight. Could get the move done. Rudy going defensive, very tight to the inside there, as Dressbassen makes the easy DRS move, but he's now a bit disadvantaged when it comes to ERS. He saved a lot of ERS into that corner, maybe using a slightly lower downforce setup as Basket moves his way up into 3rd place, and Sculzy looking like he's going to grab 5th place away from Sepsky here. So lots of moves on lap 20 here of 27, and you've got to imagine that the final order for this race is starting to take shape, barring any major developments such as safety cars, which could be yet to come. It's all about if Rudy can hang on now to that gap he has to Dresser, or is Dresser going to use that overtake mode to break that gap. You've got to imagine it would be difficult for him to do so, as Rudy does have the same amount of ERS, so could use it just when Dresser is and keep within that gap. Obviously he has the slipstream at the moment, he'll have the DRS in the straights. Going to be very difficult, but look at Basket. He's already caught nearly a second to Rudy and Dresser on the last lap or so alone, but that's going to be another warning there for Basket. He's got to be careful with those. Of course, he is pushing as hard as he can to get that gap to Jim, break that DRS so that he can start to build his 3-second gap. In fact, it's not going to be as necessary at the moment, with Jim also having a penalty as well as Sculzy, but Sepsky just over 2 seconds behind, so Sepsky definitely still a threat and in with a shout for a podium here, as Jim defending from Sculzy to the inside. Sculzy unable to make the move, as we have Heisenberg, it looks like, very, very wide on the exit of Ascari there. Looks like a spinner or a mistake there from him, as he moves down to 17th and last behind his teammate. Mercedes running P16 and 17 so far in this race. Not great to see the team which does so well in real life so far down the order here at the moment. It's yeah, you never really want to see a whole team being 10 seconds behind anyone else, really, but that's the situation we have here in ALR right now, unfortunately. Basket did just about get that 1 second gap to Jim, so he can definitely work hard now on extending it. Of course, what he has to do is make sure he doesn't get any more warnings of his own, and just break that 3 seconds to Sepsky, and the podium will be his. So yeah, you've got to imagine that he's going to be pushing very hard. He's actually lost that time that he gained. I was talking about he gained a lot of time to Rudy and Dresser. He's lost it again. I think he's actually run out of ERS. Yeah, very, very low on the ERS. He's going to be derating before he gets to the end of the straight, and that's going to hurt him a lot in the closing stages of this race. You've got to be imagining, at least. Sepsky still just hovering on that 2 second margin to basket, so that's very nice for him. Ladamala making his way up into P12 ahead of Ishtar, but Ishtar with much more ERS right now will probably get him back fairly soon, you've got to say. And Dresser still unable to break this half-second gap that he has to Rudy. He's not able to get that get it over 1 second that he needs right now, as Polpi actually overtakes Ishtar. So talking about Ishtar fighting back on Ladamala. In fact, Ishtar's dropped a lot of time. Has he had a mistake here? Looks like he has. He's a long way behind Ladamala now, so unfortunate for him. And Rudy may be able to mount an attack here. He's got much more ERS here than Dresser does, and this is going to play to his advantage. Of course, he will at the moment win on penalties, but as I'm sure any racer will tell you, it's all better to win it on track as well. As doesn't go for a move this time into turn 1. He does have a lot of time though. Of course, he has a lot of time to just make sure that he doesn't make any rash moves, as now we have Scully up the inside. Oh, and he's taken Basket with him. Basket getting a bit of damage there, so that is so unlucky for the AlphaTauri driver. Just Scully overcooked it a bit into turn 1, and unfortunately took the AlphaTauri with him, and not much that could be done there by Basket, but he has ended up with that front wing damage and losing many positions down into P7. So it's you've got to say unlikely that he's going to stay in P7 either, and really that's his chances of the podium ruined. It's now all about whether Rally can keep within that 3 seconds to Jim. Rally looking to be the favourite to snatch that podium now. And you've got to feel for Basket there. That nothing he could do, wasn't his fault, but he's ended up on the bad end of a massive mistake there from Scully, really. It's Heisenberg with another penalty. Not that it's going to mean too much there for the man in last place. Dresser now getting passed down the inside of turn 1 by Rudy, and Rudy back up into the lead of this race with 4 laps to go. As Basket pits, then he's going to try go for fastest lap, I'd imagine. And Giallo getting passed by Taupiz. Taupiz back into 8th place, with the McLarens lying in 6th and 7th after what was quite an unlucky race, you've got to say, for both of them. They've ended up in much better positions to what they were expecting, and actually Basket retires, so he won't be going for that fastest lap. He's retired, 4th retirement of this race, and we actually have Harmer, Ishtar and Polpi all into the pits, so maybe these guys can go for fastest lap with the remainder of this race. Rudy here with much more ERS than Dresser, so he can defend very nicely for the rest of this race. Of course, he also doesn't have that penalty, so as long as he keeps it clean, it's looking very nice for him right now. And yeah, Rally, look how quickly he's catching Drim. He could even do this on track very soon, so keep an eye out on that gap for the time being, as they're just coming towards Parabolic and now on a minute up. Scully right behind Rally as well, but he does have a penalty. As Dresser going for the move into turn 1, bit of a late move, not very aggressive. It was quite, I don't know, it was quite a relaxed, half-hearted attempt really, as he just stuck his nose out at the last minute, pulled alongside, but he does get the move done into turn 4 with a much more aggressive move there around the outside. So worked out for him in the end, but he's still got that penalty to contend with, and he's got quite a bit less ERS than Rudy right now. He has actually about half of Rudy's ERS as it stands, so got to say the ball is really in Rudy's court despite that overtake as Basket leaves the session. Very unfortunate for him. Dresser with another 3 second time penalty. That's 6 seconds in total now, and it's looking all the less likely that he's going to get this win at this point, as someone else with a penalty as well couldn't quite catch who it was. Coming across the line now, so 2 laps to go in this race, and it's Rudy 4 tenths behind Dresser right now with the ERS advantage. He has the DRS from being behind. Maybe into turn 1, not quite close enough as Heisenberg now retires, and that is a very late retirement, as it looks like he's had an issue into the second chicane here. Just look for where the car is, but it's actually the same place as we saw cars going off earlier on the exit of turn 5 there. So surprised not to see a VSC, considering we had one last time. As Scoolsy gets run out onto the gravel a bit, that's losing him a lot of time. He's onto the grass, he's round, he's gonna lose a lot more time here now as he's facing the wrong way through the Curva Grande. He's going to rejoin the track right in front of Yarlow here, and will just about safe, I'd say. But that's cost him a lot of time, and it's even getting worse with those overheated tyres. He's going to keep spinning and spinning again. So after the heartbreak last week of losing that podium on the penultimate lap due to contact with Ghost Toy, I think it was, he's now lost a lot of points here, and in fact he's completely outside of the points due to getting on the grass a bit there while side by side with another driver. And just when will this luck improve? You've got to feel for him a bit there, but I guess we never really know what's going on there. As we move on to the final lap of the race, Dress Basson is in the lead for now. He has 6 seconds of penalties though. Is Rudy going to try and win this one on track? He is into turn 1. He brakes a little bit later. There's about half a car length alongside, but best momentum there from Dresser as Rudy gets up on the curb through turn 2 there, and that's going to hurt him a bit as Polka gets 5 seconds for corner cutting. Dress Basson derating now already as Rally moves his way up into 3rd place here at the start of the final lap. And yeah, I mean, Rudy's driven a very controlled race, he's got to say, so far. He knew when to fight, when not to, and he's kept it clean with the track limit so far, as Giuseppe moves his way up into P4 in the closing stage of this race. Maybe even a P3 on for him if he can get this move done, but he is on those old hard tyres, so they will be quite bad, you'd imagine, compared to those I guess they're old soft tyres, but you got to imagine that it's going to be very difficult for him to get much better than P4 at the moment. But he does have an ERS advantage, not much of one, but it is there as we have more yellows through turn 1 and 2. Looks like Harmer with 3 seconds with multiple warnings again, so mistake there from the Haas maybe, as Dress Basson, first driver to cross the line, but he will finish P2 with Rudy taking the win in this race. And now Dusepsky looking to the outside of Parabolica. Is he going to be able to get the switchback and use his ERS advantage down to the line? It's a very, very short run down to the line. He's actually derating himself, and it's not going to work. It's going to be very close as they cross the line. 18,000 separating the two drivers, but it's P3 for Rally and P4 for Sepsky. Tal Pierce finishing 5th with his lack of penalties with Jim, and Yarlow finishing P6 and 7, Tambi P8, Wilt P9, and Ladamala snatching one final point after his poor qualifying. Scoolsy with that awful end to his race, again penultimate lap contact, and it's meaning he's finishing outside the points in P11. Swen will come home for a pretty comfortable P12. Very lonely race from him so far. Well, very lonely race for him in general, as Harmer will come home P13. Again, not really the race he would have hoped for, as it looks like the two racing points are going to have a bit of a drag race down to the line here. I don't think it's much of a drag race anymore with that. Just really taking each other out at the end here. I guess coming P14 and 15 in this race, which is last and second to last, they don't really care too much, but for what it's worth, Ishtar will cross the line ahead of Pulpy driving into the pit entry there to end his race and retire instead of cross the line. So I guess that's their way of giving a bit of entertainment at the end of this race. We saw a very similar thing last season between RDO and Ishtar at the end of the Vietnamese Grand Prix. Coming into the penultimate corner, there was an almighty dive from Ishtar who pretty much killed his teammate, really. And one of the worst podium celebrations I think I've ever seen there for Rudy. So not really I don't know, this cutscene doesn't really capture the hype that you usually get from a Monza podium, you know. I don't think there's enough confetti really. Crowd's not loud enough either, but it's whatever, I guess. Most underwhelming Monza podium we've ever seen, but standing on the top step of that podium is Rudy. Got pole and he finished in first. Great race from him today. Second place Basson being let down unfortunately by those 2 penalties he had. Did finish first on track, but penalties letting him down. As I said, Rally with a great drive to finish P3 again. It's yet again another double podium for the Danes here in Tier 1. Sepsky finishing 4th, very close at the end there. 18 thousandths between him and P3, unfortunately. Tal Piz P5 after that unfortunate race. Still not sure what happened to him, but he recovered to 5th nicely. Jim 6th, Yarlo 7th, Tamby 8th, Wilt 9th, and Ladamala rounding out the points. We had Skulzy, Swen, Harmer, Ishtar, and Pulpy. Well, rounding out our finishers. Pulpy didn't technically finish, and the non-finishers were Heisenberg, Basket, Stiklas, Ghost Toy, and Rossi. I'm going to quickly see if I no chance. Not quite able to get through it all in that 30 seconds this time round. And that's going to be it. Ah, Yarlo's the host, not me. That is a shame. I was going to see if I could set up some fun here. But that's going to be it for the Tier 1 Italian Grand Prix. I'm just going to have a quick look. It looks like Tier 2 is still going, and Tier 3 is also still going. Tier 3, a wet race there by the looks of it, and Tier 2 with their France thumbnail is on lap 20 or 27 behind a safety car right now. So if you guys are at all interested in what happens in those tiers, make sure you quickly head over there so you can catch the end of those races. Would be very much appreciated. For those of you who are sticking around, just want to mention that we have Tier 4 and Tier 5 running on a Sunday at 8 PM UK time once again. So make sure you check those out, of course. And Sprint League happening Tuesday on 8 PM UK time, 25 to 25% races then. So that's a lot of fun and very action packed if you want to check that one out. There is also the Project Cars Group GT3 Cup, but I think that's actually finished. Yeah, it finished last week in Long Beach, so that will be the end of that. But yeah, only 2 races left of the season so far, but just to mention right now that there will be stuff going on between seasons. We will have an F2 championship using the F2 cars, and you know, drivers from all tiers can compete all together in one big F2 style tournament with F2 points, and what will be a 25% race for the first race. Obviously 2 races at each track, 25% race for the first race, and a 5-lapper reverse grid second race. So make sure you check that one out. It should be very, very fun and very, very exciting. So, but that's going to be it from me today. So thank you all for coming. Long Beach is this week, but it's the 11th. It says that Long Beach is the 6th. Almost a podium, Sepsky. You were very unlucky there. Yeah, so okay, sorry, but the GT3 Cup, the last race, Long Beach, will be taking place this week, so that would be Saturday at 8 PM. The calendar said it would be last week, so sorry, that's my mistake, but it has been moved to this week. So make sure you guys will check that one out as well, would be appreciated. Oh, okay, so the servers went down a couple of weeks ago, Rossi says, on Project Cars 2, which is why there is the delayed calendar. So yeah, make sure you guys check that one out. But that is the final thing from me. So once again, thank you all for coming. Hope you enjoyed the race as much as I did. It was a much more enjoyable race than the last couple, you've got to say, with a track that's a lot more friendly for overtaking. So Brazil next week should hopefully be an absolute blast. One of the best tracks on the calendar, so you can imagine all the kinds of craziness that's going to go on there, overtakes everywhere, probably a lot of incidents, although I probably shouldn't be hyping up a race by saying that. But you know, I know what the F1 league racing community is like with what they want, unfortunately. So make sure you come check that out next week for the penultimate round of the season. Thank you all once again. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and goodbye.